Okay, I think I figured out my recording situation here, but I don't know. I'm new at this. So first off, I want to welcome. See, I can't even speak. I shouldn't be doing this YouTube thing. I can't function. I can't speak. I can't adult. I can't English. It's fine. It's fine. We'll get through this together, okay? So as I was trying to say, welcome to my channel. My name is Kylie. I'm obviously new. Don't know if you could tell that or not, but I wanted to try something new. Yes, I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon of the world of YouTube and people trying to create content, to entertain people, especially during this pandemic. And I don't want to get into that. That's not. I think we need an escape from all that's going on in the world. So that's why I'm here. I'm gonna attempt to be a source of entertainment. I'm kind of just like your average person. I'm not really that exciting, at least I don't think I am. I've had a lot of, I don't know if exciting is the right word, but I've had a lot of exciting, bizarre stories that have happened throughout my life that someone suggested I share, because a few of them, like, I feel like are a little unbelievable, or just like, what? Like, how does that happen to somebody? And a few I think you can relate to as a viewer. So that's what I'm gonna do with this channel, I think, is just kind of have a variety of content, try and spice it up a little bit. Told you I'm kind of a dork. So this channel is kind of more of a real talk, if that makes sense, like sharing experiences, stories of anything and anything really. So that's gonna lead us into today's video. Okay, so today's story actually happened yesterday. I have been on medical leave for the past 3 weeks, now going on 4. I know I probably don't seem like someone who would be on medical leave, but obviously we can't see inside people's bodies. I had a medical routine procedure that just kind of went horribly wrong, and yeah, I'll explain that in another video, because that's a whole situation on its own. Like, that's just a whole other story. So anywho, let's get into today's story. I have a friend. We have been best friends since we were 7 years old, so she's very special to me. She's my best friend. We've gone through all sorts of stages of life together. We're now both 24, and we're in the stage of adulthood, right? Like, working, getting married, starting family. So far, I've only hit one of those things off that list. All I ever do is work, not married, and don't have kids. Not yet. Hit me up. I'm just kidding. Told you, I'm a dork. Anywho, so Heather, which is her name, she was supposed to get married back in May of this year, so 2021. But with the pandemic, there was a lot of restrictions, so myself and a few others who were the bridesmaids didn't get to attend. However, in like 2 weeks, actually probably less than that, I really need to get on this. I love you, Heather, I promise. My life is a bit of a disorganized mess right now, as I'm sure many people's are, so we'll get through it, we're in this together. So I finally got my bridesmaid dress just a couple weeks ago, right before the whole medical situation happened. And so I finally got it altered and all that fun stuff, and I went to pick it up yesterday. So I drove downtown, and I don't know if it's just like an Ontario thing or if it's everywhere, but downtown, anywhere I find, is sketchy. Like, there's a lot of unique individuals that roam the main streets of cities. And I'm not trying to like be rude or judgmental or anything. Like, I do my best to offer just kindness to people I see on the streets. But anywho, so I went downtown, and right on Main Street is where I was going to pick up my dress. So I went in, tried it on, fit perfect, so much better than the previous time. And then, made my payment and left. And then I noticed a bookstore just kind of down the street a little bit, And I was like, oh, I need to backtrack. I want to go check out that bookstore. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but where's my hand? I don't know how this works. There we go. I love books. I am a avid book reader. I love all kinds of books, but my favorite have to be mystery, suspense, things like that. With the world today, like, there's not really many cute little bookstores around anymore, and I just happened to see this one and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta check it out. So I, you know, make a legal U-turn, let me specify. I'm a good driver. And I backtrack down Main Street and I go to this bookstore. So I park outside and it's pouring rain, so I'm looking through my wallet looking for some change so I could pay the meter without having to stand in the rain. So as I'm doing this, like, I'm bent over in my passenger seat, just kind of looking through my wallet, and I hear like a knock on my driver's side window. So I look up and there's this man, this elderly man. He's probably like 60. He looks very, very ill, very just frail, and, you know, despite, like, you know, the first appearance, I'm still like a little on edge because, one, I'm downtown, two, I'm a lone female, so obviously the anxiety of that situation just like skyrocketed. So I kind of wave like, hello sir, what are you doing at my window? And then he points like this, and then I watch him as he makes his way around the front of my car to my passenger side. He asks, you know, he goes like this, like, roll down the window, and I'm like, I don't want to be rude and just dismiss this man. And so I decide to just push the little button on my window to put it down just a crack, enough that I can hear him, but not enough that he can, like, if he so desired, to reach into my car and unlock the door himself, you know what I mean? I kind of, you know, put the window down and I'm like, hello? Hi, sir, you know, can I help you? Like, I'm trying to be very polite and just, I don't know what he needs, what he wants. I don't know his intentions. So I'm just trying to be kind, calm, and just keep the situation, whatever it may be, to a civil level, right? Like, I don't want to escalate his emotion, and I don't want my own anxiety to manifest and make him on edge and just, you know, kind of spiral out of control, which I thought was probably the best approach. So he immediately just asked me for a ride. He may not see a problem with asking a complete stranger for a ride, but, you know, this man, he looks like a frail Mr. Rogers, okay? And I'm like, you know, just because he appears to be someone who may not be that much of a threat, doesn't mean anything. Because whether he looks like Mr. Rogers, Jason Bourne, or your average Joe, if he has a weapon or ill intent, it doesn't matter. Obviously, gun laws in Canada are quite strict, but you never know. Especially because only like an hour prior to this incident happening with me, an area that my work is actually centralized around was on lockdown because of 4 armed men with a gun running around a couple secondary schools. Obviously, despite gun laws, like, people find them. Whether it's a black market, whether they legally are permitted a gun and just kind of unfortunately use it you know, illegally, doesn't matter. So like I was saying, like, whether this man looks like he could be my friendly neighbor, you know, like Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace, I don't know. I mean, he probably could be a threat when I think about it. I mean, he had anger issues if you really think about it. In the end, obviously, he had a huge heart for Dennis, but anywho, I digress. So back to the story. No, I don't know who this man is. I don't know his true intentions. And like I said, he looks frail. He has a walker. He's an older man. I could potentially take him down if needed. I mean, I'm not that big of a person. I'm only 5'3". I hate killing bugs, even though I hate bugs, but like, I feel bad when I have to kill one. Not to say that I would kill this man. Let me just rephrase that and like clear that. But like, if I had to hurt him in self-defense, like, I would feel bad. As weird as that sounds, I know I'm not the only one. I know that I'm not the only people pleaser in this world. And if you are one of those, again, no, you're not alone. We're in this together. Anywho, so he starts kind of like getting really close to the crack of the window, and he's like right there, and I was kind of like, okay, sir, you're kind of freaking me out. I'm trying just to be polite, right? So I was like asking questions like, sir, where do you need to go? And then he says he needs to go to the clinic down the road. Now, I knew which clinic he was talking about. It's a place downtown where people who can't afford, you know, prescriptions or things like that can go for free healthcare. You know, they go a little more above and beyond than our usual free healthcare here in Canada, and their target patients tend to be those who are homeless or have some sort of mental illness or substance abuse problem. He told me that he needed to go pick up his juice, and that was very important. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but juice is actually a slang word for I believe it's methadone, which people who have drug addictions tend to use to help with, you know, withdrawals and things like that. Regardless, in that moment, I didn't feel comfortable allowing a strange man who needed to go to this specific clinic, which is really just down the road. He could walk in theory. I just didn't feel comfortable. Now, this is where it gets kind of weird because, like, again, I said, I'm very much a people pleaser. I hate saying no. I hate denying the ability to help somebody. Like, I feel such guilt about that. And in this moment, saying no to this man because I didn't feel comfortable with him in my car, I felt guilt. Like, this guilt just rising up. Like, look at this man. Like, he looks ill. He looks fragile. Like, he needs to get, you know, help. And how could I deny him that? But at the same time, I had to push that people-pleasing tendency aside because, like I said, it doesn't matter what he looks like. If he has a weapon, if he is even just acting as ill as he is, I'm screwed. There's no place where somebody, especially like a lone female, should sacrifice their feeling of guilt to put themselves in danger. And so I had to really, in that moment, stick to my gut and go, no, this is not a safe situation. I'm not gonna allow my guilt to put me in an unsafe situation, essentially. So I'm, you know, just trying to talk with this guy and be like, you know, it's only down the road. Are you sure you can't walk? I know the weather's kind of crappy, but like, are you sure like you can't walk? And then I started to kind of test his request, right? Like, I wanted to see how true his like intentions were. So I suggested that I could call him a cab. I could call him an Uber. And he's like, well, I don't have any money. I was like, sir, I've been on medical leave for weeks. I have not had a paycheck. I'm not in a financially great situation either. But you know what? I will spend the $10 to get you where you need to go. Even though it's $10 I probably shouldn't be spending. But you know what? I will sacrifice buying a like $2-3 book in this used bookstore to you know, get you where you need to go. But then he started to just deny my offer. He just was making every excuse possible as to why someone else couldn't drive him and why he needed me to drive him. And that really, you know, red flag right away. I was like, okay, I'm definitely sticking with my gut on this one. I don't care how much of a sad puppy he looks like and how much it's like killing me inside to say no. Something's not right here. And I think that's something like we forget, whether you're kind of like me, a little more timid, a people pleaser, or just like anybody. Like, we should never sacrifice our safety because of the feeling of guilt of saying no. That should never ever be the situation. If you don't feel safe, don't continue to engage yourself in that situation. So at this point, I know what some of you are thinking, like, you're still in your car, why didn't you just drive away? Well, here's the situation. I'm parked in a spot on the side of the main road, okay? There's cars coming, it's the main strip. There's cars coming like there's no tomorrow. There's a car behind me and there's a car in front of me. So for me to actually leave, I'd have to reverse a little bit and then get out, but then I have to wait to make sure there's no cars coming and end up, you know, crashing into one of them. So for me to do that, I'd have to take my eyes off this man and really be aware of my other surroundings, which for me in that moment, I didn't think was an option because this man started to get a little aggressive because I was refusing him a ride. This man started to put his hand in the window, like the top of the window and the actual window itself. So that little crack where I could hear him out of, he starts putting his hand in. He's trying to do it nonchalantly, but like, it's kind of obvious that you're trying to push my window down as if the force would make that work, which, like, I don't know a lot about cars and the mechanics of cars, but I know like pushing on a window is not gonna force it to go down unless your window is somehow broken. I don't know. And then he starts trying to stick his whole hand in. Like, I can see him trying to reach down, but he's acting like he's not, which I'm like, and then I'm kind of like, is anyone else seeing this? Like, I know there's not a lot of people out and about. Like, it's the middle of the day on a weekday. I'm only out because I'm not working, and I'm just like, this man is trying to force his way into my car. He is not taking no for an answer. And so at that point, I'm fumbling for my phone, but trying to be real discreet about it. Like, more discreet than he's being with trying to get into my car. And I just like, I couldn't believe it. Like, this man is just openly trying to force himself in my car. And I'm telling him, like, sir, I cannot drive you. I start making up excuses. Like, I look at the gown I have next to me in my passenger seat, and I was like, sir, I'm supposed to meet my best friend for a fitting. Like, I don't have the opportunity, the time right now to drive you to your destination. Like, nothing is working. And I'm like, okay, if this man does not leave in the next 60 seconds, I'm gonna call 911 because I feel unsafe. And I work with kids. Like, I'm a child and youth care practitioner. And something we teach our kids is you need to use your words and you need to listen to other people's words. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, this man is not listening to my words. Like, I'm gonna have to call police because because this man is just not being responsive. He's just very adamant that I have to drive him to pick up his juice. And that was not gonna happen. And so I finally have my phone. Thankfully, I have an iPhone, so Apple has the like emergency button. So all you have to really do is like press, I think it's like 5 times on the lock button or whatever it is. In that moment, I think I knew which buttons to press and how many times, but now that I'm trying to think about it, coming up blank and empty. At this point, I'm like, sir, I will just give you, like, all I have are a couple toonies and loonies in cash, but I'll give you some money. Like, obviously I don't want him to go spending it on something that's gonna feed his addiction. Granted, he had one. Like, you never know, right? But at this point, I'm just like, I need you to go. I'm not gonna be able to get out of my car. Voice crack. I am not gonna be able to get out of my car or just out of this situation until he leaves. I pull out a couple toonies and loonies. For those of you who are not Canadian and don't know what a toonie and a loonie are, a loonie is a, you know what, let me just go and find one. Okay, so I'm back. I don't have a loonie. I don't know how I don't have a loonie, but I'll show you what a toonie is. So a toonie is a $2 coin. So where's my camera here? I don't know if that's gonna, how do I like get it to focus on that and not me? Let me try this. I'm not very tech savvy. It's not working, is it? Come on, fix the focus. I don't want the focus to be on my face. Anyhow, apparently I'm not very tech savvy. But a toonie is it's a coin we use here in Canada. It costs $2. So like if I want to go to Tim's and grab a double, which is my favorite kind of coffee, with milk though, not cream. I'm not much of a cream person. I'm a little extra like that. I'm the basic white girl that goes into Tim's and just like, hey, can I have a double but with milk? No cream. Anywho, so a toonie is just a $2 coin. So it's got a polar bear in the center and Queen Elizabeth II on the back. So that is a toonie. A loonie is essentially the same thing. It's about the same size, but it's a completely bronze coin. and it has a loon on it, which is a type of bird, and it's only, its value is at $1. So anywho, so I had a couple of those. That's probably where my loonie went. I'm pretty sure I gave it to the guy. Oh well, I hope he uses it to buy a double for himself. Anywho, so I pulled a couple loonies and toonies apparently. I don't really know what I gave them. It was just, it was like maybe $5 altogether. And I was like, sorry, that's all I have. Meanwhile, I'm trying to hide some cash that I actually do have in my wallet because that was for emergencies. Because like I said, I'm not really working right now, so you gotta pay bills and get groceries somehow. Adulting. Anywho, so this man, he takes the change and he leaves. He thanks me for the, you know, $5 or whatever it was, and he takes off. And I'm like, at this point, I am like in my car, I am shaking with just fear and anxiety, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this could have been a heck of a lot worse of a situation. So I wait till he's down the street, and I'm like, okay, I probably should report this. Like, this is something I probably should let police know about. Like, obviously he didn't do anything incriminating, so it's not like they could arrest him, but at least they could do like a welfare check on him, or you know, maybe he does this a lot. Maybe it's just a ruse to get money or to target victims for whatever purpose or desire that he has. I don't want to think about that, to be honest. That creeps me out. Anyway, but I was like, you know, maybe he's done this before, maybe they have reports on him, so maybe it's just better safe than sorry, let me just call it in. So at this point, I'm not thinking it's much of an emergency, like the immediate threat is gone, I'm still in my locked car. So I decided to call the non-emergency number. Unfortunately, I did not get through because the lines were busy. Like I said, there was a whole situation earlier in the day, so it makes sense that they'd be quite busy. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go into this bookstore, I'm gonna buy a book and just kind of allow my nerves to calm before I try and call again. I go in, I browse for a couple of minutes, buy a book. It's sitting on my shelf somewhere over there, because I'm gonna read it. I'm in the middle of another book. I didn't really need to go buy a book, but I think for my own mental health I needed to in that moment. Yeah. Actually, let me take this moment to show you which book I got in case you want to read it. I hope this isn't backwards. Otherwise, this would be extremely awkward. It's called Glass Houses by Louise Penny. I've heard really good things about both the book itself and the author, and I really wanted to give it a try. This is not sponsored. I just wanted to display the book that I bought in a moment of weakness. So, not really sure what it's about. It's a mystery novel. There's a lot of suspense and a lot of like kind of like it keeps you guessing to the end, which are my favorite kind of books, of like someone's murdered and it's like, who's the killer? And then it's like, plot twist, who you thought the killer was is not who it was in the end. And then you're like, oh, this is why I can never be a real life detective. Anyway, so I bought that book, left the store, got back in my car, and I could see the man down the street, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if he comes back this way? I need to get out of the immediate area. So finally, I take off. I drive around the corner to where I work, and I park just off of my job site. I call my sister. Okay, my sister's like my best friend. She's 12 years older than me, and we're pretty much the same person, but sometimes she has a different view on things, which can help me kind of focus. So I explain the situation, ask her, like, do you think I should bother trying to call back and make a report? Like I said, I know there's not much they could do, but maybe just it's good to have the information, right? In case this is an ongoing issue, or if they get reports in the future, they can go, okay, now it's becoming an issue. So she kind of like, led, like, it's up to you. Like, there's no harm in reporting it. Again, there's not much they can do at this point, but hey, it wouldn't hurt. So I thought, you know what? Yeah, that's true. I'll give a call. If I get through, I get through. If I don't, I don't. So I get through to a female officer who was so amazing and kind, and just she took down my report. I explained everything that happened, how uncomfortable I felt, and she was asking if I was okay because I sound very trembly, and I was like, I'm just really shaky, a little taken aback. It was kind of a situation. I did fear for my safety because, again, even if he was just Mr. Rogers, if he has a weapon of any sort, I don't really stand a chance. You know, I emphasized the fact that he was looking for juice from the clinic, which she understood to be a little more descriptive than just being like he needed to go to the store to get his apple juice, or the liquor store, you know, to get his, if you know what I mean. So she asked if I wanted to speak to an officer in person, and I hummed and hawed because I was like, well, you have all my information. I feel like talking to an officer in person, like, as much relief as that would give me, like, there's nothing else I can really tell him. So I was like, you know what, no, it's okay, just, you guys have more important things to be worried about. Like, don't worry about it. I'm just gonna go home and try and relax a little and distract myself. And then she asked, like, why I didn't call 911 in the moment. Why did I wait? And that is kind of where the guilt really kicked in, and that's something I want to talk about to kind of wrap this video up. I did not call 911 in the moment, obviously. I tried to handle the situation on my own and de-escalate it the best that I could. Again, that probably wasn't the smartest thing in hindsight. I probably should have called for, you know, police presence to assist me in something I probably should not have been dealing with by myself. I understand that. Don't rip me apart for that. But when you're in the moment of a situation, sometimes you don't think clearly. And in my mind, I'm an overthinker. I overthink absolutely everything. And in that moment, I was thinking, is this really an emergency? And I just didn't think that it was that big of a deal. And this is where the mindset came in that I'm sure some of you have, is that I didn't want to waste the police's time. You know, I felt like in the grand scheme of things, like, there's so many more important things they should be attending to than some young girl who feels afraid of Mr. Rogers. So I kind of explained that to the officer, and she said that's a very valid thought and worry, but we shouldn't, as citizens, have to hesitate whether we should call the police or not. Because I know there are people in this world that will call the police for the most outrageous of situations. This woman who called the police because they were out of spicy sauce or whatever. Anywho, so yeah, like, I know there's people out there that don't hesitate to call and waste an officer's time, and then there's people like me who I was like, I didn't think it was like, no one was in, I want to say no one was in immediate danger, but again, I could have been and not really known the extent of the situation. Like, if he had a concealed weapon, it could have been a lot worse. And so I kind of had this conversation with the officer, and just like, it made me realize that I really need to get out of that mindset of, I don't want to be a burden and waste people's time. When I feel that I'm unsafe, it is okay to call the emergency number. I don't need to wait and then report to the non-emergency number after the matter of fact. I should feel comfortable enough to call in the moment. And, you know, I acknowledge that she was right, and I 100% agree. I shouldn't, again, have risked my safety because of the anxious worry. In the end, it's not worth it. You know, it's always best to be safe than sorry. And I have so much respect for anyone in law enforcement, especially with all the frustrations they deal with nowadays because of how they're portrayed in social media. Again, that's a whole other topic I won't go any further into. So it's not like I'm afraid of the police or anything, or I just didn't want to waste their time with something that I felt like I kind of dealt with. I mean, he did leave in the end, after a lot of back and forth, but I just kind of want to, you know, leave off with the notion that, like, if you ever feel afraid or unsafe, just call 911. Like, that's what they're there for. And I feel like the responding officers won't be offended that you called. If anything, I think they'd be very responsive. Just like, hey, you felt unsafe, that's what we're here for, to help. And if that's not the responding officer's attitude, like, I hope it doesn't put you off from ever calling the police ever again. So that was kind of my story that I have for you today of just, man, it was wild. I haven't left my house in like 3 weeks because I've been, well, the first 2 weeks, well, the first week I was in the hospital. Second week I was on bed rest and it hurt to move or walk. This past week I've been a little more mobile and trying to get out there. So then I leave my house and this whole ordeal happens and I was like, yep, never leaving again. Not true, obviously, it's a dramatic statement. I hope you took something away from that story. If you have your own like story of something similar or like just involving police involvement, like, let me know. I am a law enforcement junkie, okay? I love like police activity, the YouTube channel. Again, I'll link that down below in case you want to check it out. Donut Operator, I love his channel. He's a former Marine and police officer, and he does a lot of like video breakdowns of police shootings, and he gives a very real view of what police officers deal with, and I admire his work and the light he shines on police officers, because they really don't get the respect and recognition they deserve. Also, Angry Cops, if you have not watched his channel, hilarious, real, check it out. I'll link it all down below. Yeah, so if you have any opinions, comment, let me know what you think. Also, if you have any opinions on this book, if you've read it, don't spoil it, please, because I don't want to know how it ends until I have read it myself. So please don't spoil it for anyone or myself, okay? But if you've read it, let me know your thoughts. Like, don't give out details, obviously, but just your review. Tell me. Recommend, 10 out of 10, 1 out of 10, negative 11 out of 10, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on the book, or if you have any book recommendations, please let me know. I'm always looking for new books to add to my collection. My goal is to have that entirely filled, and then some. I would love to have my own library, but I don't have enough books for that. Anywho, my name is Kylie. Thanks for checking out my channel. I hope this video was not boring. I honestly don't know how much I'm gonna post throughout the week, whether it's once a week. I don't know, this is all new. It's up in the air right now. I mean, I do have a full-time job that I will be getting back to, but in the meantime, I'll try and post different content, different videos, different stories. Oh, maybe my next video, I'll talk about why I'm on medical leave, how a routine procedure kind of almost killed me. I shouldn't laugh about it, but it's fine now because a lot of good things, weirdly enough, came out of that situation. Anywho, hit like if you like. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. There's that Canadian part of me, oh my gosh. Anywho, subscribe if you want, and if you know someone in law enforcement, have them like message me, because I want their opinion as like a responding officer to this kind of situation. Like, this may be a dumb redundant question, but like, would you rather be called out for something that's already kind of over with, or would you rather just the person just not bother calling? I mean, I'm not gonna be offended at whatever your answer is. Or Donut, what's your opinion? Have you ever, like in your 3 years as an officer, were you ever called out to a situation you're like, oh my gosh, this is so pointless? Or I was like, you know what, better safe than sorry. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Bye!